Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Powell, thank you so much for coming before us today and for your testimony. There has been, I think, first and foremost, that the improving economic position we see today, do you think that it would be in existence without Operation Warp Speed and 3 safe and effective vaccines?
I think that the vaccines and the widespread adoption of them are absolutely essential to the recovery.
Thank you. And currently, about 40% of workers on enhanced unemployment are paid more than they did while they were working. Coincidentally, there is a labor shortage. In my home state of Iowa, as of May 2021, 87,000 workers dropped out of the labor force since February 2020, a 5% decrease in the size of Iowa's workforce. Notwithstanding, employers in my state cannot find workers, and these are jobs that are greater than $15 an hour. Even some employers cannot find people to work at salaries of between $80,000 and $130,000. As Governor Brainerd pointed out earlier this year, true unemployment is far higher than the headline rate, and the labor force participation rate is nearly 6 percentage points below where it was at the beginning of the 21st century. Shouldn't we be doing everything we can to incentivize work for our own citizens? Shouldn't we be looking at bringing in additional unskilled workers into this country at a time when we have a labor shortage of skilled workers?
So I'll try to get to answer. So I think a number of things we think are weighing on labor supply right now, and those are things that should be expected to abate and wane and go away over the course of coming months. So we should be seeing our way to strong job creation, we think, as the year goes on. And there I'm thinking of a significant number of people still report themselves as not wanting to work because of being afraid of being infected or being afraid of carrying the infection to somebody they may live with who's vulnerable. Also, schools not being open, that's weighing on participation by caretakers. And also, the unemployment insurance may be interacting with some of those other factors and causing people to go on with their job search longer. There's another thing, though. The very quick job gains of the early recovery essentially involve going back to your old job. That's not so much what's happening now. Now it's actually finding new jobs, and that's a matching function that is more labor-intensive and time-consuming, and there may be a bit of a speed limit on that. We expect, though, as I said, a lot of progress to go forward. On immigration, it's something we really isn't in our bailiwick, and so I try to stay at a high level on a question like that.
And President Biden promised not to raise taxes on anyone making under $400,000 a year, but inflation, as has already been noted, has increased dramatically, and I realize you use the PCE rather than the CPI, but it's over 5% and is most insidious and regressive tax affecting low-income minority families, hardworking taxpayers, and seniors on a fixed income. You stated recently that the current inflation surge is likely to be transitory. Does likely mean greater than a 95% chance, a 50% chance, or do you have any level of confidence in that prediction?
I have a level of confidence in that prediction. What I would have been saying, though, is that it's very hard to say what the timing of that will be. When will these bottlenecks disappear? When will there be enough microchips? We saw what happened in the lumber business. Prices have come way down, but they're still pretty high. When will the used car markets get back into equilibrium? So it's hard to say exactly when it will be and exactly how large the effects will be. But honestly, if you look behind the headline and look at the categories where these prices are really going up, you'll see that it tends to be areas that are directly affected by the reopening. That's something that we'll go through over a period that will then be over, and it should not leave much of a mark on the ongoing inflation process. So there's no reason why it should leave a mark on inflation, say, a year or so ahead, because we should be through it then.
Thank you. And finally, the financial report of the United States government published annually by the Treasury Department says unambiguously the current fiscal path is unsustainable. On our current path, debt is projected to exceed 6 times GDP by the end of the century, and annual government spending will exceed 50% of GDP. Do you agree with the conclusions of this report? And if so, isn't this an additional and one of our greatest avoidable crises that our country currently faces?
I think that unsustainable just means that the debt is growing faster than the economy. That's been the case for a long time, and I don't think that's controversial. I think the point I would make is that the time to work on that problem will come, and that time is when employment is high, unemployment is low, economic activity is strong, taxes are rolling in. That's the right time to go to work on a longer-term program that gradually moves us back to, primary balance, and ultimately, you just have to get the GDP growing faster than the debt, and it has to do that for an extended period of time. That's how countries get back to a sustainable path.
And to be mindful of their spending when the economy is growing. Thank you so much. I yield back my time.